Good afternoon, my lovelies. How are you today? I'm just going to get myself situated here while everyone's coming and joining us. We're going to make a pretty card today. We're going to recreate this one. It's called a swing card. So I'm just going to wait until a few people pop in. See how everyone's doing. We're going to zoom down at one point. I'm going to be using my Vagabond as well, so you'll have to bear with me as we get that situated. It's going to be a good day. Don't you guys love these mild temperatures? Hi, Heather. Is it warm down there? It was 10 or 11 here today, I think, but the wind has really picked up crazy. Hi, Phyllis. How are you? Hi, Deborah. Deborah, did you get my messages? I sent you a couple messages today. You're working, but you know. Oh, hi, Rose. You're at work. I am sneaking. Well, just make sure you turn the volume down. Hi, Beth. So this is just, hi, Brenda. This is just going to be a little tutorial on how to create a card that is not new. I'm not reinventing the wheel, but just have had a lot of people asking about samples in the store that I've done in the past and just wanted a refresher. And a lot of us know how to do these things already. It's just that we haven't thought of them in a while. So I just want to revisit a few things, show you a few tips and techniques, that kind of thing, and go from there, okay? So the one thing I do want to say is make sure that you like the video, leave a comment, and I'm going to do a draw tomorrow at 4 o'clock for the winner of the card that we create today, which is going to be exactly like this one. Okay, so this is a swing card. So as you can tell, there's an opening at the front, and when you open it, it swings open to have a beautiful spot on the inside. Hi, Lee, how are you? Okay, Deborah, awesome. So we're going to dress it using this beautiful paper from Prima Marketing. And then I'm going to show you everything that I used. I'm going to teach you how to make this little bow. We're just going to do some fun stuff. Again, not reinventing the wheel. We're just going to do some fun things, okay? Hi, Dana. So I wanted to show you different ways to do the swing card. So this is the traditional way, okay? So we're going to cut an opening and it's going to swing open. But if you wanted to make one that is like a swing card, but doesn't have the flap on the outside, all you have to do is cut off the top flap. So this flap here, if we cut this off, you would have a look like this, okay? So there's two different ways to do it. It's totally up to you which way you want to do it. Any shape will work. Doesn't matter if it's a circle, a square, a diamond, anything. Hi, Kathy from Fort Myers. I hope it's nice and warm down there. I was thinking about you today, thinking about all the sunshine. So I'm going to show nice nails. Aw, thanks. Yeah, they're sparkly and purple. So I'm going to show you a few samples. So this was a Christmas one that I had made. And with this one, I actually put the paper all the way around. And it's totally up to you how you want to do this. So if you have the extra time and you want to fully dress your card, definitely do that. You don't have to. But it does look nice if it's fully done, especially on a white or cream cardstock. So if you're doing it on a colored cardstock, I don't feel you need to do that as much. Okay, so this is the square one. Then this is one I made at Christmas using the oval. Okay, so again, I didn't bother dressing this because the red is just so pretty that I didn't need to waste any more pretty paper. I wanted this to be my statement piece. Okay, this one I did with the diamond. So again, if you do it on colored cardstock, you're not going to have to dress as much of it, but please do if you feel you want to. Okay, and then this one, So I did the same. This is an A2 size, and you can do a swing card in any size. So an A2 size is 4 1/4 across by 5 1/2 long. So, and then if you want to do a 5 by 5, a 6 by 6, 5 by 7, it doesn't matter what size the card is, you can still make a swing card. So this one was used with leftover papers from our release party. I had to mix and match here because I ran out. But I also did it where I cut the flap off on the larger size. So this one's 5 by 5, and this one is an A2. So you can still get a beautiful look. It just depends on what size and what dies you're using. Okay. So we are going to recreate the square card, and it is 5 by 5. So I have pre-cut my piece of cardstock. It is 5 inches wide by 10 inches this way. So I guess height. Width. So 5 this way, 10 this way. And then we're going to do some scoring. So I'm going to bring my scoreboard in. Now when I score, as I've said last week in last week's card, I like to use the Tim Holtz Ideology rub-on tool. It is my favorite scoring tool. It is metal, so it's never going to get shaped. It's never going to wear down on the tip like these ones do. You're always going to have a really crisp score. Okay, so I'm going to get you to zoom down just a little bit.
Absolutely.
Hi, Julie in England. How are you? How's the weather there? We're talking about how mild it is here today, and we've had rain. We've got all kinds of things happening here today in Canada. Hi, Mary. How are you? I'm just looking to see who else is here. Hi, Tina. Okay, so we are going to put our 10 inches wide across our scoreboard. Let me just pull this into view. Boop. Okay, so we have our 10-inch wide going across the top. So what I want you to do is you're going to always, when you're scoring, never put your paper right up at the very top because you're not going to get your scoring tool in there. You always want to pull it back like 1/8 of an inch so that the width of your scoring tool can get in the very front of your slot. And I personally always score on the good side of my paper. So this is textured basil cardstock. So I have my good side up. I've got it pushed over to the left as far as it will go. Now what I want to do is I want to score this in half to make a card. So I'm going to score it at 5. Okay, so a nice score. Don't push too hard. I actually would prefer to go back a couple times and score than to push too hard and rip my paper. Okay. Now, the other thing that we're going to do, the way that we're going to make this front piece is we're going to take whatever the width of your card is. So the card base on mine is 5 inches wide. We're going to divide that in 2 and we're going to score again at 2.5. So if you were doing an A2 card, you have 4 1/4 going across. We're going to score at 2 1/8. Okay, so we're basically cutting the front, not cutting, I don't mean that literally. We're going to score at the center mark of the front of our card base. Okay, makes sense? Everyone with me so far? So we've scored our card in half at 5. Now I'm going to go back to the 2.5 and I'm going to score again. And again, I would rather go back a couple times so I know I have a nice crease and a good score. You don't want train tracks. Okay, so I want to have my second score line on the right side of my card base. I'm not folding at this time because now I'm going to bring the Vagabond in and we are going to die cut. Now I'm also going to draw a white line on here for you guys. So hopefully you're going to be able to see it a little better once I draw my line. Is that showing the white at all? I might need to use pencil. Okay, So there's my 2 score lines. So this is at my 5-inch, so that's my half of my card. And then I've scored it again at 2.5 because I'm using a 5x5 card. So you can see that line, correct? Now, I'm gonna bring my Vagabond over. Hopefully I don't jiggle the table too much. And I'm just gonna get myself in view, be sure that I'm here and where you guys can see me. All right. So for this card, I am going to be using the Pink Fresh Stitched Squares die, and I'm using the 2 in the middle size. There's 3 sizes. You get a large size, you get the small size. I'm going to use the medium size, okay? So when I'm doing this, I want to use the larger size because this is going to cut my opening. I'm going to use my smaller size that's going to nest inside of it, and that's going to cut my pretty paper to nest inside, okay? So the way that you do this, the premise of this is, I'm going to bring my plate up here. When you have both of your plates together like this, okay, I know they're see-through and they're a little hard to see. When you have 2 plates together, if there's a die in here, it's going to cut the whole piece. So when we normally die cut everything, we have our base, we have our paper, we have our die, we put the top plate on, we run it through the Vagabond. Now, if you only want a certain part of your die cut, you don't want the whole thing, you're only going to put the top plate where you want it to cut. And so I want it to cut here, so nothing over here is going to get cut, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my piece of tape. I am going to find center of my card and center of my square. So I have my white line running down the middle. Now you want to make sure that you have the same amount of distance from top to bottom, from side to side. Okay, and now I'm one of these people that I like to tape down my die. I'm not going to wing it. Is that straight? I just want to make sure it's straight before I tape it down. That looks pretty good. Okay, so now we have basically the same amount on each side. I'm going to move it in just a little tidge. Get that straight. It's hard to do when you're standing up because I'm standing. Okay, so I'm going to lay this on my cutting plate, on my bottom one, and I have my plate down. Okay, and then I'm going to take my top plate, and I'm only going to put the edge of my top plate just to the right of that first score line. Okay, so you can see the score line. Oh, my tape has lifted. Okay, so we'll make sure that's straight because I'm going to be gifting this card, so I want to make sure that it's straight. Okay, and you don't need it to be all the way on your plate. So all you're going to do is lay this straight on here, and you're only going up to your score line. I'm not covering all the die that's on this side, and it's not going to cut on this side. Now, if you happen to be working with a bowed plate, you want to make sure that you pull back a little bit to the right even more, because when the plate flattens from the pressure of your machine, it's going to actually expand it to the left. So you want to make sure that if you're using a bowed plate, you're a little further back on the right. If you're using a new plate, which mine is pretty new, I'm going to lay it pretty much right on the top. Okay, so I'm just going to lay this down. Hopefully my head's not in the way. We're going to make sure that this is straight. I'm going to put another piece of tape on here. I just use painter's tape. Now when I'm going to cut mine, I always slide my top plate further in before my platform. Okay, so I'm going to line this up. I know it's a little tricky for you guys to see, but my line is right here, and I just have my plate right to the edge of it. Now, what I like to do, because I'm always a little nervous Nelly, and I never want to waste anything, so I'm going to hold down my top plate. I'm going to hold my platform, and I'm going to make sure they go through the same time and that nothing moves on me. Okay? So here we go. So when it gets to the end of the plate, it stops cutting. Okay, so we'll bring it back. So now if you see on this side, you can see where it is cut and stitched because my die has a stitched edge on it, but it didn't cut over here. So it only cut on the right side because my plate, my top plate was on this side. If my plate was all the way across, it would have cut out a complete square. Okay, so everyone get that? It's pretty easy peasy. Once you remove this, you now have your cut mark just to your score line. Okay, so you can see that. Now I'm just going to move my Vagabond out of the way. And that's as easy as it is. So again, it doesn't matter what size that you're using, what shape you're using. As long as you only have it to the score line, then that's all you need to worry about. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to actually fold our card in half. And if you notice how easy that folded is because I actually scored it on the good side of my paper and it created a valley. And when it did that, it actually broke the fibers of the paper. So now it automatically wants to bend for me and is nice and easy. And again, never just assume that you can just put this down and crease it with your hand. Always take the time to be sure that your edges are exactly even on the ends. Lay it down. Use your bone folder. This is the new bone folder that's coming in from Dress My Craft. It's ergonomic. It is Teflon, so it's not going to lose its shape. And I always like to draw back to my score line just in case I'm not 100% on. Okay, give it a nice crease. So there's our 5x5 card base. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this flap and we're actually going to fold it back to our fold line. Okay, so there's our fold line. This is the front. We're going to take this and we're going to fold it back, and we're going to be sure that it lines up as best you can. You may not get it exactly, and that's okay. No one's going to judge. Give it a nice crease. And if you notice on mine, I've come not quite to my score line. I'm just going to give it a little nick in the corner here just so that I know that it is totally flat. And give it a nice crease. Be done. And now we have created our swing card. So this is so easy to do and so much fun. It doesn't matter what bone folder you have. If you have your traditional bone folder, they all work perfectly fine. It doesn't have to be the ergonomic one. It can be whatever bone folder you have. You don't have to go out and buy the latest, greatest, newest. Hi, Denise. All right, so I've done a little bit of the work ahead so that you guys don't have to watch me fuss and fiddle with everything. So this also is what it will look like when you do an A2 size. So this is just done on white cardstock. And you're going to notice that you're going to see the score line. And I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I don't want the person I'm gifting this card to see the score line. So no matter what shape I do, I'm going to want to cut another one in the same cardstock, the same shape, the same everything. And I'm just going to lay it on top so that I can cover that score line. So now you're not going to see that. And it's just a visual thing. If it doesn't bother you, don't worry about it. It's going to bother me. And so I want it to be how I want it to be. There's no other way to say it. I want it done correctly. So I'm going to take the time. I'm going to glue this down, and then I'll stamp. I'll do whatever I want to do on the front of it. So I have done the same with our yellow square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to want to put this down here, okay? And I'm not going to worry about putting pretty paper down here. If you want to, you definitely can, and that's going to give you the effect that I did on this one, where you can totally see that it's all paper. And it does get a little thick on your score line, so I don't feel you have to do it. It's totally up to you, whatever style you guys like and what you want to do, okay? So I'm just going to take a second and I'm going to use my Dries Clear. And of course I want to use wet glue because the wet glue to me is going to give me room that I can, drying time, so I can get this down in here and not worry that it's not in the right place. You want to make sure that it's nice and straight. Of course, being straight is always an option with me because I have a really crooked eye. So now we have a finished card base, and doesn't that look nice and finished? You're not going to see that score line. It just looks so much nicer and more professional. And I think that, you know, we spend so much time making these cards, we really want them to look professional. So I have cut my inside paper to be 4 7/8 by 4 7/8 because I always like to have a little bit of my card base showing through so that we have the contrast. And for this paper, because I'm using yellow and I'm using kind of an antique background, I'm going to use Vintage Photo to ink my edges. And I ink all my edges on everything. I just like the look of it. It finishes it off. I don't want to see that white core of the paper. That turns me off, so I don't want to see that. So then we are just going to lay down some glue. And you don't need a ton. It's not going to waffle. It's not going to be crazy. And we're going to line this up and we're going to set this down and it is straight. Okay. Now, while I have this open, I also have gone ahead and cut a piece of paper. Or I thought I did. Maybe I didn't. I don't know if I did. Let me just get my trimmer. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to cut myself another piece just because I did not cut it. So I'm going to cut it at 4 7/8. And my piece in here, this here is going to be, it measures 2.5. So I want to cut this 2 3/8. Okay, so I'm going to cut this at 2 3/8. I love this trimmer from We Are Memory Keepers because it gives you all of your increments in here. So you get everything from an 1/8, a quarter, 3/8, half, 5/8, 3/4, and 7/8. I love this trimmer. So I'm just going to quickly ink my edges. I like a completed finished card. So I'm going to dress as much of it as I can just because I have all this beautiful paper. And I want the person that receives a card from me to absolutely love it and want to take it to their grave because that's important to me. So I'm going to just line this up. Make sure, again, little attention to detail. Make sure that your lines are going across and they're even. Don't have one up and one down. You want it to look professional, then you need to pay attention to the little details, okay? Now, for this piece out here, we have to do a little bit of surgery, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take this piece here, it's the same size, it's 2 3/8 by 4 7/8. And I wanna lay it down basically where I want it to sit on the card. And I'm not going to glue it down. I'm just going to fiddle with it here for a second. I'm going to get it exactly where I want it. And then what I'm going to do with a nice sharp pencil, I'm just going to draw a line, okay, for where I want to cut this opening out. And when I cut the opening out, I want to be on the outside of my line. That's going to give me a little bit extra wiggle room and you're going to see a little bit extra of the card. You can totally cut this with scissors if you want. It's totally up to you. If you have a straight hand, I do not. So I'm going to use my trusty little Fisker tool and my ruler. And I am just going to line up and be on the outside edge. Oops. Okay. And then we're just going to come down our line, down here. Okay, and this just gets us to the basis of our cut. Again, if you are great with scissors and you can do a straight line, then this is the way to do it for you. It's just with scissors. So I'm just going to go back and just cut just a little tidge off. And a tidge is an exact measurement. Okay, my husband does not believe me. He says I made up the word, but I didn't. I went a little off on that side. Okay, so once we have this, we're just going to do a little test. We want to make sure that it's going to fit as well as we can on here. Okay, we're a little off on this side, and I'm just going to fuss with it for 1 second, just because I want it to be right. Okay, move all my goodies out of the way. Now I'm going to ink my edges on this as well because I want to continue to follow through with that. Don't start inking something and then stop halfway. If you're going to ink it all. And if you forget, find a way to go back and fix it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to adhere this on here. I'm a little crooked on this one, so I think what I'll probably do is gift the original one, just because I'm a little off and I don't want to spend too much time getting it straight. And again, if you have to go back and trim, make sure you re-ink the spots that you cut off. Okay, and now we're going to commit. Oops. So we're just going to use our wet glue. Make sure that you go around on the inside as well. Oh, you're welcome, Rose. You can watch later. Make sure you leave a comment and all that. Thanks, Angie. It is a scrapbooking word. It sure is. All right. So now we're just going to commit this down. Okay. And again, I love using Dries Clear because if I don't get it in the right spot, like I just didn't, and I did that on purpose, you can just lift it off. You don't have to worry that it's not going to be exact and totally down there. So now we have the front of our card just about finished. Now I've gone ahead and I've stamped or die cut my piece that's going to go in the center here, and I used the smaller square for this one. Okay, so I'm going to ink the edges on this. And I love using my blending tool. It's handy. These just come off. On the bottom of my pad, I have a piece of Velcro, and because this is the male, the female from the underside of my foam is going to sit and stay on here, and I always know where it is. Okay, so it's just a quick little way to always have things handy. Now I want to pop this one so that it's a little elevated. So I'm just going to put some pop dots on here. And no, Kathy, I'm not cutting my pop dots. We're going to do some CPR on them. Make sure that they're stuck down and that it releases the back quickly. I forgot my garbage bin, so I'm just going to throw my mess on the table. I'm going to be a messy crafter. Now remember, always want to put a little bit of Dries Clear on the back of your pop dot. It just gives you that wiggle room that if you set it down and it's not in the right place or it's upside down, you can get it off and move it. So I'm just going to pull this in close to me for 1 second so I can be sure that I've got it as straight as possible. Lift this little edge up. Okay, so I just wanted to be sure that it was straight. So now we have our card base that is now dressed. Okay, now I've gone ahead and I've stamped a cute little sentiment. It says, "Sending you a smile." And this is from the Crafters Workshop, Sprinkle Kindness. I did sell my last one today when the lady saw that we were going to be doing this one. So I do have more of it on stock, on order, sorry. So if you're looking for one of these, let me know in the comment, and I should have them in the next week. Things are finally shipping. It's amazing that we're finally getting things in. So a little quick tip, I want to do a little flag on the end of this. So I just want to do like, cut out the little arrow. I'm not sure what the official word is on the end of here. I call them flags. So the easiest way to do this is find out the length that you want it to be and trim off the excess. I like to find the center of my tag, my sentiment. Hi, Lynn. How come you're watching? You're on a cruise. You're supposed to be off enjoying yourself. But thank you so much for joining us and taking the time. So I'm going to just put my scissor to about where I want it to go in for the depth of my flag. And I'm just going to snip it. And then I'm just going to come from the left side up to the middle. I'm going to go from the right side up to the middle. And every time you end up with a perfect flag on the end. Okay, you guys can see that. And then of course I'm going to want to stamp or ink the edges of this because I want it to stand off. So just do, you know, some nice little inking around your edges. It kind of gives it that whole Victorian look. And I'm going to pop this on the card. So I'm just going to take a piece of foam tape strips. I love these strips. I cannot say enough about these strips. And I'm just going to put a little piece on the back. And remember to really squeeze it nice and hard, and it makes the backing pop off like easy peasy. Little bit of adhesive on here. And again, I'm not adding the adhesive to make more adhesive. I'm adding it so that if I want to move my tag, I can. And now I'm just going to set this down on here as straight as possible. That is not straight. Is that straight? That looks pretty straight. I got my guy hovering. He's Mr. Straight. He keeps everything on the straight and narrow for me. He's going to take it out of view so that he can get it exactly where it should be. And I'm going to show you how to make a crazy loop bow. Now, I've been doing this since I used to do florals. There's no rhyme or reason. I'm hoping that it goes as smooth as it usually does, but you know how it is on the magic of TV. Things don't always work. So I'm going to hold a tail just down by my baby finger for the amount that I want my tail to be. I always add extra because I can always trim it off, but I can't add it. Okay. Hi, Cindy. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to take and I'm going to create these bows. And I'm taking my ring finger and I'm just pushing it back and I'm just making bows so that they're about the same size. And I'm not too crazy worried if they're not the same size because I don't really care. It's a crazy bow and it's not meant to be perfect. So I'm holding it in my left hand for those that are right-handed. And where my finger, my thumbnail is, I'm going to cut another little piece and I'm just going to put it in the center and I'm going to fold it in half. Now what I want to do, if I can grab this, is I'm going to fold back my two sides of my bow. And now I'm just dealing with the piece of twine that I wrapped around. Okay, and then all I'm going to do, single, double-handed sorta, is I'm just going to thread this through. I'm going to use my husband to tie a knot for me. Normally I use my mouth, but otherwise my head will be in the camera. So he's just going to tie a knot for me, nice and tight. Okay, and then when you release it, you have a crazy bow. Now this is when you can fiddle and fuss with it. And remember, you are the maker of the bow, not the twine. So once you have it, if you don't like them all being hairy-carry, once you pull the tails, make sure that you put your thumb in the center and pull these tails down. And see how straight they went? Because you're pulling them. And it's not come undone because my thumb was in the center of my bows. And then you can make them as hairy as you want. Okay? And then to adhere my bow, just for the sake of being on here, I'm just going to use some little glue dots, clear glue dots, and I'm just going to put it on the back. I'm going to give that to you because they stick to me really bad. Okay, I'm going to do a second one as well. Normally I would probably use my glue gun. I use my glue gun a lot. Oops, it's stuck to that. Sticks to my finger all the time. Okay, so once we get these glued down, oh my goodness, because it's clear, it's hard to see, and it wants to stick to my fingernails. Now I'm just gonna kind of find where I think I want my bow to go. And I always like things to be a little off center. There's another one. Okay. And then you can go ahead and you can add some bling. You can do all kinds of fun, pretty things to your card. It's totally up to you what you want to do with it. On this one, I added some bling in certain areas. You can do little tags. It's all whatever you want to do. And if you don't want your bow ends to be so long, you can trim them. You can do whatever you like. You can also just take your twine and just make a regular bow. I did have somebody ask me about making bows. I absolutely love making bows. And whenever I teach a class and we have bows, the ladies make me make them. I'm not sure why. So all you're going to do, just leave your twine together. You're going to make a little bow at the top. You're going to wrap it around. It seems easy peasy, yet everybody really struggles with it. So when you get your bow like this and it looks horrible because it's not the same size, remember, put your fingers in the center of your bow and pull nice and tight and manipulate the twine to how you want it to be. And then pull down the center and you have a beautiful bow that can be used on anything. Okay, so bows are super, super easy to put on anything. We could definitely take this bow that I just did and we can put a little bit of Dries Clear on the back and we can add it to our card. Okay, so adding a little piece of ribbon is just a little something that really adds a little extra detail and texture to your card. Okay, so for me, if I was doing this here and not on live, I would definitely be using my glue gun because it's instant and I know for sure that it has been secured. So lots of variations on how to do this. It doesn't matter what theme that you want to do. You just have to remember that you have your cardstock, and this is an A2 size. So we have this cut. We've scored the card base in half. And then we're going to crease it. Make sure that our edges are nice and even. Okay, nice crease. We've already scored our front piece. Okay, and then what we're going to do after we die cut, so we're going to lay our die cut down on here. Does anyone want to see this done again? I don't want to keep people too long, but I know it's supper time, but I can do another one if you want to see a heart one done. I'll just do the die cutting. I won't make a card. So I'm just going to bring this in. And again, I'm just going to set my card base down. Now for this one, I thought I would do a heart. So I'm just going to take my heart. I'm going to find the center. I'm going to bring in, I'm not in view. I think it's me. I got to come over. Oops. I slid off. There we go. Okay, hold that on there for me. So I'm just going to take a piece of my painter's tape or washi tape, whatever you have. Okay, so I'm just going to line this heart up. I'm going to make sure that I have as much room on all sides. I'm going to tape this down just like so. I have not scored, folded in half. I've scored this. I haven't folded this yet. I'm going to lay this on my plate. I'm going to take my top plate. I'm going to shove it through further, and I'm only going to bring my plate to the score line. I'm going to hold all pieces together. Am I not on?
No, wait.
Oh, okay. Needed some power there. We're going to run this through. Okay, and you hear it pop. That means that it's done and only has cut that section that had both plates together. Take this out of view. So now when you see this, when I take this off, take my tape off. Okay, so now I only have one side of my card that is cut because I did not want to cut on this side. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold this back to the fold line. I'm going to crease, make sure it's nice and crisp, make sure all of your things are lined up, and now we have a heart swing card. So it literally does not matter what shape you use, whether it's a heart, whether it is a circle, whether it is a square, or whether it is a diamond or an oval. So I hope that you guys try these. It's super fun. It's just a fun way to do something. And remember, it doesn't matter what die that you're using. If you only want part of the die to be cut, wherever you put your top plate is only the area that's going to be cut, okay? So it doesn't matter if it's a great big long die. If you only want a little bit of this cut, so say we were doing this, but we only wanted the top part of this cut on the edge of a card, you only put your bottom plate and your top plate to where you want it cut, and it will only cut this, okay? So go back, visit some of your dies, look at them a different way, try making this card, share it with us. Be sure to leave a comment, like the video, and you'll be entered in to win this card that we just created, okay? So before everyone goes, I just want to let you know that I'm going to be back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. We have finally received our order that was held up at the Windsor border. It is here, so I have some new stuff to show you tomorrow at 9 o'clock. I'm going to go before I open the store. So 9 o'clock will be on, and we are going to show you some new product. We also have 3 or 4 more orders that will be here by hopefully Friday. Yeah, the heart is really nice. It's a heartfelt one. It is called the eyelet heart, and you get a lot of sizes inside. You also get your just your plain cut as well, so it doesn't all have to be the eyelet. Some of it is just a straight cut, some of it is an eyelet cut. So you guys have a fabulous night. Enjoy your dinner, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Take care, guys.